Hey guys, it's Michelle Tam of Nom Nom Paleo, and we're back after being off for 2 weeks with my weekly Facebook Live cooking demo. Last week we were supposed to be here, but then there was that big Facebook outage, and so there was no Facebook Live. And the week before that I was at Expo West, but I'm back, and I'm going to be demoing how to make the latest recipe on my blog and app. It is my Paleo Moo Shu Pork. And so Lauren, who's behind the scenes in Arizona, we'll put up the link so that you guys can grab it. But you can just go to nomnompaleo.com or our app and you will find it. And this is my younger son, Ollie. My older son, Owen, is manning the camera and he will be asking questions out loud. But today, just like every week that we come on live, one of you lucky live viewers is up for the running for a cool prize. And this week's prize is we'll get a variety pack of these grain-free muffins. They're called Susie's Grain-Free Muffins. I discovered them at Expo West, which is this big convention of natural and organic food products. And I just got to go around and try products, and this was one of the companies. I'd never heard of them before. I tried it. They're super delicious. They're really, really good. They don't pay me at all. They are providing a prize to one of you out there, but they're made with almond flour. I mean, they're paleo certified, gluten-free certified. It's a really tasty treat. It's made with like almond flour, arrowroot, and coconut flour, but it's super moist and super tasty. And I just really like them. And you actually can't buy them here in the Bay Area, but I know when I go up to Portland, I can get them. And I think that they're based in New York, and you may find them at your local grocery store, but it's in the freezer section. And they also sell it online at their site. And I think Lauren can put that up. But I just thought it was a really cool product. I thought one of you guys would be excited to win it. And so that is why that's our prize this week. So for our Paleo Moo Shu Pork, this is a dish that I grew up eating because my mom used to make it. It is something that is served in almost all Chinese restaurants. A lot of Chinese American households serve it. There's lots of different variations. And so this is my paleo version. And I've kind of changed up a little some of the ingredients from what my mom used to make, because she, instead of using dried shiitake mushrooms, she would use the Whittier black mushrooms. She'd use bamboo shoots. She'd use those lily buds, but those are hard to find. So I just use Napa cabbage, rehydrated shiitake mushrooms that I thinly sliced, and some carrots that I thinly sliced. And then I add in some scrambled egg. And this part I just did ahead of time, just so I could kind of get to the meat of the matter. And this here is a pound of pork that's been cut into little matchsticks. You can use pork tenderloin. You can use those super thin pork chops that you just cut up really thin. Yes?
Instead of pork, could you use chicken?
Yes. In fact, in my recipe, I talk about that because I knew people would ask that. You can definitely use chicken. I prefer chicken thighs to chicken breast, just because it doesn't dry out and it tastes better. But you just cut it just like this, like the little matchsticks, and it totally works. You do moo shu beef. You can do moo shu shrimp. There's moo shu tofu. There's lots of variations, but it's just the same kind of general concept. And in terms of the sauce, I just use my all-purpose stir-fry sauce. So when I tell you guys you should have a jar of all-purpose stir-fry sauce in your fridge at all times, this is why. So you can make something like this really simple. You can also make stir-fries. You can also make paper-wrapped chicken. You can use it as a braising liquid in Instant Pot stews. In fact, that's what I was supposed to show you guys how to make last week, but then there was the outage. But I've shot that recipe for the blog, and I'll demo that. And so you guys will have all the instructions and pictures, and we'll do a Facebook Live maybe next week or the following week. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, Ollie, you're going to help me out. Okay. I have a pound of pork.
What kind of pork?
Pork tenderloin, but you can also use like those thin pork chops. You can also use pork shoulder, just cut it in little matchsticks and it'll be fine. So that is a little bit of avocado oil, that's fine. You don't have to go crazy. And then I have a little bit of salt. Do you want to sprinkle this on? Okay. And then you can use a fork to kind of mix it all around.
Okay.
But don't rip up the pork.
Okay.
All right. And then I just have a pan that I'm gonna add avocado oil. You can use ghee, whatever your preferred cooking fat is. Another product I discovered when I was at Expo West was some algae oil, which I had heard about, but I'd never tasted. Actually seems like a pretty cool stir fry oil that I'm gonna probably start experimenting with. All right, so I'm gonna just toss this in here. And I'm just gonna cook this until it's no longer pink. And are there any questions that people have?
Not really. Other than the chicken and the pork questions.
Why don't you?
Well, because I can see it here.
Okay, okay.
But where is your computer?
It's right there behind you. And remember, the secret to, because basically Moo Shu Pork is a type of stir fry. And the secret to getting stir fry on the table quickly is having everything prepped ahead of time. So I have all my vegetables already cut right here. And I have my pork all done, my eggs are all done. And so it's a pretty fast process once, you throw everything into the pan. And I'm gonna have you, okay, so while we're kind of waiting for stuff to cook, this is a 1/4 cup of my all-purpose stir-fry sauce. So Paleo Moo Shu Pork is normally wrapped in these mandarin wrappers, which are these thin kind of Chinese tortillas made with flour and hot water. I know, and when I was a kid and when my mom would make it, she would sometimes buy the mandarin pancakes at a Chinese market, but when she couldn't go to the Chinese market, she would just buy some flour tortillas. And so that's why I would jokingly call these Chinese tacos, because they kind of were like Chinese tacos. But if you're paleo, you can use these siete cassava flour and coconut tortillas. They taste just like, I think they taste very similar to flour tortillas. In fact, they taste more like the mandarin pancakes than flour tortillas. But if you are doing a Whole30, everything else is Whole30, like the all-purpose stir-fry sauce and everything else is Whole30. You can use these little jicama tortillas, which is just thinly sliced jicama. I bought this at the store. You can do like they do in China, and instead of having it wrapped in a wrapper, you can serve Moo Shu Pork over rice. So, there are lots of options. Okay, so I'm just gonna transfer the pork now that it's no longer pink.
Someone asked if you could use a thicker pork chop and pound it to make it thinner.
You could do that. It's just you want it thin, because that's the whole thing. Like you want like thin little matchsticks. So you just have to cut it. You can pound it, but just cut it small and you'll be okay. All right, so I just added a little more oil. I'm going to throw in my vegetables. I've got some napa cabbage that I've thinly sliced. And this pan is a little bit small, but it fits this induction cooktop. Ideally, you want to use like a 12-inch, and this is more of a 10-inch. That's okay. I have a carrot that I cut thinly. I have some reconstituted shiitake mushrooms. I'm gonna add a sprinkle of salt to this. Not too much, because the all-purpose stir-fry sauce is very well seasoned.
Will you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You keep going.
No.
Oh, okay, fine.
Sauce?
Will you do a Facebook Live on hoisin sauce?
Oh, yeah. I actually I made it on Instagram. It's really simple. It would be kind of a boring Facebook Live, but we don't have enough time normally to do all of these steps. But I made this hoisin sauce right before I came on here. That's really good. I like it a lot. Can I try a little bit? So you can have it on your stuff. Okay. So this The seasoning for this moo shu pork. So as I'm stir frying the vegetables, you want the vegetables to be tender, crisp, not like super soggy or anything. So you cook it on high temperature and you stir it around for just a few minutes. So the seasoning is a 1/4 cup of all-purpose stir-fry sauce. Recipe is on my blog. It's in our Ready or Not cookbook, the yellow one. It's on our app. Basically, I kind of put it everywhere just because I think it's so indispensable that people should make it. And then to this, I'm going to add some arrowroot powder. Can you dump that in? And then a little more sesame oil. There is some sesame oil in all-purpose stir-fry sauce, but I think in moo shu you want it a little more good, and you can whisk it all together.
Okay.
And the thing about moo shu pork is it's normally tucked inside a tortilla that you've slathered on some hoisin sauce, and so the stir fry itself is not super flavorful. I mean, it is. I mean, you want it to have, you know, to be salty, but because you're putting a really fragrant and strong tasting sauce on it, it doesn't have to be super seasoned. That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
But if you don't have time to make paleo hoisin sauce, don't sweat it. You just add a little bit more seasoning and it'll still taste really good without the hoisin sauce. In fact, I don't think Ollie loves hoisin sauce on his moo shu pork. He likes it just fine the way it's seasoned. Another alternative that if you don't want to use hoisin sauce is you can use sriracha, and I have a Whole30 sriracha and a paleo sriracha that uses honey as a sweetener. Both recipes are on the blog and in my books, actually. All right, so this is just right. It's like tender, crisp, and people are like, how do you know it's tender crisp? You taste it, and it's tender crisp.
So how long does the all-purpose stir-fry sauce last?
I think, just to be safe, I always say like about 4 to 5 days in the fridge. But you can also freeze it. You can freeze it in ice cube molds. You can just freeze the jar. Just make sure that there's room at the top for it to expand when it freezes. But it can last a long time. Like if I'm going out of town and I still have some in the fridge, I pop it in the freezer. Okay, so I'm going to add the pork back. I'm going to toss this together. I'm going to put the sauce all over everything. And because it has the arrowroot powder mixed in here, it's going to thicken as it heats up. And that's the question I get a lot. Like people are like, oh, when I use your all-purpose stir-fry sauce, I like a thicker sauce. Just add some arrowroot powder and you should be fine. So like for 1/2 cup or 1/4 cup, you can add like 1 or 2 teaspoons of arrowroot powder depending on how thick you want it. And that's in place of cornstarch because that's what they normally use at Chinese restaurants.
So with the all-purpose stir-fry sauce, did you say 4 or 5 days?
4 or 5 days in the fridge. You can definitely go longer, but I mean legally I'm just going to tell you guys 4 to 5 days. Okay, so this you can see it's like thickened. I can smell that I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to taste it for salt. I'm going to unplug it so it's not so loud. Tastes really good. Okay, so then to this, I'm going to add 3 scrambled eggs that I made earlier. You scramble them. Oh, and I season the eggs with a little fish sauce, but if you don't like fish sauce, you can add just salt. And then you scramble it until it's moist, but not super dry. You kind of toss this in, and then you just throw in some scallions. That was super fast. I mean, I did prep everything ahead of time, but that's why I tell people, like, if you're gonna make a stir fry, you definitely should cut everything ahead of time. So you're not like scrambling to make sure things aren't burning.
So could you use fresh shiitakes?
You could use fresh shiitakes. In fact, some people like to use, here I'm going to move this for 1 second. Put this on a thing. You can use fresh shiitakes if you forget to rehydrate some dried shiitake mushrooms, but I just showed people on my Instagram stories that a quick way to rehydrate dried shiitake mushrooms is to put the dried mushrooms in a bowl with some water and microwave it for a minute, and it'll totally soften faster than the 30 minutes or an hour that they say. So all I'm going to do here, we'll have to plug back in. I'm going to heat up a grain-free tortilla. But here, this is it. Super simple and super tasty. You can serve it on cauli rice. You can serve it with these jicama tortillas. I'm going to make a few to show you guys. And then you slather on some of the hoisin sauce. This reheats really well. I don't know, it's really tasty, I think, and it's super fast. And then you can make these on Tuesday in place of, you know, Taco Tuesday. Like you can have Chinese Taco Tuesday. Any other questions?
Nope.
Nope. Alright, so I'm gonna, as I do this, I'm gonna have, so these, Siete is also not a sponsor. In fact, nothing is a sponsor unless I explicitly say it's a sponsor, because I'm a rule follower, and by law I have to tell you if anybody's a sponsor, and nobody's a sponsor. I buy all this stuff myself, and I tell you guys about it because I think that they're great products, and you guys should know about it.
It's kind of sad we have no sponsors.
We have no sponsors. I know people think that all sorts of things are my sponsors, and they're not. So this, I'm just heating up in a dry pan until it's warm and pliable, and then I will make one.
So could you use a different kind of mushroom?
Yeah, well, traditionally it is like the black, like kind of the black, like Whittier fungus, which I don't love, but you buy that dried in the Chinese market. I think shiitake, you should go with shiitake if you can. I mean, I think it would also taste really good with like king trumpet mushrooms. But cremini was probably fine. I mean, mushrooms are always great, but it's not so traditional.
So you've talked about
really
the jicama tortillas, but you haven't really...
oh, I'll show you. I'll make one with jicama tortillas.
Yeah, so tell us about the jicama tortillas.
So these you can just... Okay, so you can make your own jicama tortillas. Oh, thanks, Owen. You can make your own jicama tortillas in that you buy jicama and you peel it and then you slice it really thin, either with a mandolin or a really sharp knife. But that's not always easy to do. So you can buy these, I bought this at Whole Foods in the produce section, and I actually kind of ripped this one. But like it's super thin, it's like paper thin. And there's, when I looked at the ingredients, it is just jicama slices, that's it. And so you can use this as your little taco shell. And people are like, oh, are you just doing this because you want to be low carb? And no, I actually think it tastes really good with like this crunchy outside. And also like, personally, so I'm just putting on a little bit of my homemade hoisin sauce. Personally, I can't eat a ton of, you know, carbs because my blood sugar spikes. And I know this because I've tested my blood sugar. I have a little finger stick. And so I try not to eat super carby stuff, just because it spikes my blood sugar.
So could you use...
like these muffins. These muffins are not that, they're definitely not keto. They're not super high carb, but it's not something I eat all the time. It's definitely a treat. But definitely like kids and stuff can, you know, eat more carbs. I just can't myself. Okay, do you want me to make you one with like the tortilla?
I don't care.
Okay, do you want to have some hoisin sauce on it?
I'm good.
Okay, see, Ollie doesn't necessarily like hoisin sauce, but he does like the eggs and all the other stuff.
Could you use tapioca flour instead of arrowroot flour?
To thicken, Yeah, you can.
I guess.
Yes, you can use tapioca. Another good thickener that's not cornstarch, if you want to keep it paleo and Whole30, is potato starch. Potato starch also works as a thickener. Okay, Owen, how do you want yours? Do you want it just plain?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so everybody kind of has it however they want it. Here, you should eat it. Because people like to see if you actually think it's gross or not. So this is mine in a little jicama tortilla with the homemade paleo hoisin sauce. It's a little messier. This actually tastes really good in the jicama tortilla. And you can also do just lettuce wraps. You don't have to buy anything fancy or anything unusual, but it is very good. I'm glad this is our dinner tonight. Okay, so we are basically done. Unless you guys have more questions, but I'm going to have Lauren pick a winner so they can win this little variety pack of Susie's grain-free muffins. There's a sweet potato one, a coffee cake one, a wild blueberry, and a double chocolate. And when I was at Expo West, they were debuting some new flavors that aren't on the market yet. They have a matcha one that was so good. And they are super moist and super tasty and super satisfying. Any other questions?
No, but we do have a winner.
Yay!
Who's
Who's the winner? And if you haven't made paleo hoisin sauce,
Okay.
it literally takes 10 minutes. And you can make it super smooth by blending it in a high-powered blender when it's done. I mean, in my recipe on the blog, I show you how to use a hand blender, but if you want it super smooth, you have to use like a Vitamix or a Blendtec or a Ninja.
Alright, so our winner is Janella Johnson and Najibi.
Yay!
Yay!
Janella! So I will need your mailing address. Either DM it to me on the Nom Nom Paleo page, or Lauren will also try to contact you. But we do want you to respond within 48 hours because last time I had to track down the person who won, and so that's hard. So if you just respond to the email or email us, and that will be great. So you should definitely make this. You guys saw how fast and easy, family friendly, super tasty. Tastes really good in these jicama shells. It can be Whole30 friendly. And that's about it. So we will be back next week with our weekly Facebook Live. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Owen. And thank you, Lauren. Bye, guys.